And what we're going to do, seated students, you all received a worksheet last class. I haven't put that online for anyone who could be online listening at this time, but I will go and post that worksheet up so that if you're watching this video in the future, you may want to go check out, print the video out of the classroom tab. I mean, not the video, but the handout, so that you've got something to refer to when we're looking at the problems. I'll still write them up, of course, like always. So before we start looking at questions on this worksheet, guys, let's talk about fundamentals. Let's make sure we're all set. Slope. Tell me about slope of a line.
It can be positive or negative.
Okay. It can be positive or negative.
It can be undefined. You can find the slope as long as you have 2 points.
Mm-hmm. So far we've got that we know slope can be positive or negative or even undefined. A positive slope, what does it look like? Goes up as you read it left to right like a book, right? So an example would be something like that. A negative slope, if you're looking at a picture, goes up or down? Down. It's kind of intuitive, right? And an undefined slope, what does that look like?
Like a line just straight across.
Okay, a line straight. Oh, whoops! Oh no, I wrote it wrong. An undefined slope is when you have a vertical line. A line where a lot of times when I have students looking at them and they're trying to just eyeball which one's okay and which one's not, I say, you know what? I imagine a little person standing on each line. This one here on the left. If he walks left to right, is he walking uphill or downhill? Uphill, right? He's standing on this line here. Walking left to right. Is he going uphill or downhill? Okay. How about here? If he's standing up, how's he doing? He's not doing so good. Okay, so this is probably not a good situation. So that's a way that I can remember, hey, that's not even a function. It fails the vertical line test. But the slope, if I'm just thinking about the slope, hey, it's undefined. It's not okay. My little guy walking up the hill, he just didn't do so hot. He just fell off. We do have a zero slope. That's something we didn't mention. I can say or 0. If it's 0 or there's not one, then what's that picture look like? That's the flat one. That's the one where if you have your little man and he's walking left to right, he's liking it. It's a pretty easy walk. No uphill, no downhill, just flat ground. And I really do think of it as being a person, as I read it, left to right, going up, down, how's this person walking to help me relate to what's the slope. Especially because the falling off the cliff helps me remember that's the bad one. It's flat. There's no slope. So if he goes side to side in the picture I'm drawing, there's no hill. He's not going downhill or uphill. Because remember, slope essentially is like talking about going up or down a hill. It's the grade. It's the incline of the line we're looking at. The only difference is in real life outside, well, maybe the hill's going to have steeper parts than others. We know that does not happen with lines. We know that a line, by definition, has to have the same slope consistently. It cannot change. If it does change, it's not a line anymore. It starts to make curves and things. That's a very fundamental thing for lines, guys. And that's why, whenever Jennifer pointed out, hey, we only need 2 points to find the slope, that's why that's all we need. Because if we know the slope never changes, we don't have to do anything weird. We just get those 2 points, find the slope, and it's never going to change. We know the exact incline of this thing. We can graph the whole picture. Just like in the previous section, you could graph the whole line by being given 2 points. If you were just drawing the picture, remember that? How you would either use a table and have 2 points, or you might use the X and Y intercepts for 2 points. But once you had those 2 points, you were not required to do more work. You're not required to do more work, well, if they don't give you 2 points, or if they give you limited information. As far as the slope by definition, how we talk about it, let's see. In our equations, we consistently label it as being an M, right? That's the abbreviation for slope. They use M. In words, we compare it as the rise over run. So mathematicians, when they said, hey, this person's going to walk up a hill, let's make a comparison, they said, well, We'll leave the comparison with the up-down part of the walk in comparison to the side-to-side part. So rise over run. The up and down, over top of the side to side. And we went on to say, hey, if I have to actually make an equation, up and down deals with y or x. Y, right? So we said the appropriate formula here would be change in y. y2 minus y1, right? And the run, well, that's the change in x. That's the side-to-side stuff. So it's all intuitive. It all connects together as you're looking at this picture. So we have x2 minus x1. What I'm trying to say is if you forget a formula on the test, hey, check it out. Just reason through it. Remember words like rise over run. Stuff like that to help you remember, because when you're trying to decide x, y versus, if you just look at the rectangular coordinate system that you've got, the x and y axis, when you're looking at up and down, you can remember that's the y, the rise. And side to side, you can remember that's the x, that's the side to side stuff. What is it, Jennifer?
I don't understand this. I'm just going to pick your brain.
That's okay. I like that.
Why does it have to be x2 minus x1 or y2 minus y1? Why can't it be y1 minus y2 or x1?
It doesn't matter. Remember what we said? The only reason we even show those subscripts is to remind the person, hey, whatever point you use first on top has to also come first on bottom. You have to be consistent. There's no like defined first point, second point. When I'm working a problem, I'll label it and say, okay, I'm going to use this as the first one, this is the second one, to keep myself organized. But like, let's say Alex and Kel were working problems and they did it backwards. You know, Alex used the point for point 1 that was the one Kel had used for point 2. It doesn't matter. As long as they are consistent and the same y and x come out of the same point on the bottom first and then out of the same point on the bottom second. Does that make sense? Because what happens is negatives and stuff will just happen. It'll fix itself automatically in the math. The reason we have that minus again is because we want change. We want the distance between those letters, between that walking or the stepping. So when you're trying to help yourself reason through it, that's what's going on. So we've got slows. I think it seems like you guys are doing pretty good with that, right? Is that accurate? We talked about lines. We talked in the past about the fact that you had several ways of graphing lines. This is kind of a review, which we're having technically next class for the second portion also. But we'll talk about it here just since I didn't get to be with you guys last time. Graphing. We have used 2 points. You can use a table or an ordered pair. I don't like how my text is going way down like that. It's okay though. You can use the x and y intercepts. Really? Really? Is it going to do that? Sorry, people. Who knows what it's doing? I don't like that the pen just got removed. I think that's not a good thing. Okay, we got it. Or something that we emphasized at the end was this equation right here. Now I'll tell you, I noticed Susan told me from working with you guys last time that you were really favoring the y minus y1 formula. That's okay. I'll start teaching from that one, but tonight I'm going to motivate you in the way I generally would have motivated you had I taught you last time. And that is, for me as a student, I memorize the least amount possible. For me as a student, that slope formula, I try not to memorize y2 minus y1. I memorize rise over run, and I get to the formula through reasoning. Because I don't, you know, to me, the more you kind of just memorize stuff, if you don't know why it's in your brain, guess where it's going to go? Away. You're going to stress out and forget it. So for that reason, I feel like just memorizing that's plenty. If you're already using the other one, if you're already comfortable with it, don't change. You don't need to. But I'm just saying if you're someone who's struggling right now with going between